And welcome back to the Murdy Creative Co podcast. I'm your host, Colin Murdy, and today's topic is note-taking. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who supported the company so far. If you haven't got a chance, go check us out on the web at murdycreative.co. That's MURDY creative.co. Or you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram by searching at murdycreative.co to see the best of our product shots. Follow us on our social media to keep up to date with our daily photos and be the first one to know about new product launches. You can also use our subscribe button at the bottom of our website to be included on all of our new product announcements. And be sure to check out our laser engraving, personalization options, and exclusive colors on our website. Or you can get a blank one on Amazon Prime. All right, first, a little bit of exciting news today. We are launching our pre-sales for the Lava Color. So stay tuned. Hopefully by tonight or maybe tomorrow, the Lava Color pre-sale will be available, so you'll be able to get in line. These will actually come with a number on them. They will say limited edition, 1 of 100, 2 of 100, 3 of 100, and so on and so forth. So be sure to put your number in, because that's you're going to be first in line. There's only 100 of them available, and then once they're gone, they're gone. So I will make sure to get that update out there for you on our Instagram, for those who are following, and I will make sure that you know otherwise. But keep tuned and stay watching for that, because that will become available shortly. All right, so today's podcast comes to us as another suggestion from Dr. Murdy, my father. And this is actually an article from October 23rd in the Wall Street Journal. And I thought it was very practical for what we're doing, and I wanted to obviously bring it to your guys' attention because I thought it was an interesting article. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, and then obviously I'll tell you a little more about my thoughts on it. But let's just get started. It's called, What's the Best Way to Take Notes? Handwriting or typing can make a difference, but the most important factor is what you do with the raw copy, one expert says. This is written by Heidi Mitchell. Now that so many students and employees have laptops, those leather-bound notebooks are going the way of the rotary dial. I hope not. But does typing notes capture the concepts of a lecture or meeting as well as writing them longhand? One expert, Kenneth Kiewra, a professor of educational psychology at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, explains the most effective methods for taking notes. Preservation is the point. The brain is fallible, says Dr. Kiewra, who does research on the teaching and learning process and how people develop talents. We might experience an event and think it's easily locked away, but unless it is something of importance, we forget, he says. Information comes at us very quickly, making it difficult to effectively process what we are hearing and then store it in our long-term memory. Taking notes creates a physical record of what happened, while also making the listener more attentive. Note-taking is incompatible with boredom, he says. Dr. Kiewra believes the first priority of note-taking is to capture all of the important information, and that writing or typing is secondary. Don't worry about the form. That you can handle later when you have time to review your notes, he says. Laptop versus paper. On digital devices, incoming messages and other notifications are distracting. True, at an average of 30 to 40 words a minute, a keyboarder will likely take more complete notes, but a longhand writer averaging 20 or so words a minute will tend to paraphrase, which is helpful for the learning process. When you paraphrase, you are filtering the information and putting your own stamp on it to understanding it, Dr. Kiewra says. Laptop note takers, he adds, may get stuck if the speaker draws a graph, though they could simply pull out their smartphone and take a photo. A writer can simply sketch it out. While the psychology professor doesn't know anyone who uses one of the major systems of shorthand, he says most people ultimately come up with their own ways to accelerate writing, by dropping vowels or creating symbols for commonly used words. Longhand writers also do something called signaling in their notes, says the professor. They might bold words or use all capitals. They might write in the margins or draw arrows to create a hierarchy. There's a lot more thinking going on than verbatim typing allows. The act of writing longhand and organizing helps the writer research abstract conclusions and store the material in the brain, he says. Studies have shown that students who type notes in classroom perform worse on conceptual questions than those who use pen and paper. But typing isn't a deal breaker as long as the typist goes over their notes and follows certain methods of processing the information, Dr. Kiewra says. Serious strategies. Whether typing or writing, people tend to be pretty poor at note-taking, taking down only about a third of the relevant information, Dr. Kiewra says. While typing may result in too much information, writing in longhand may lead to missing big points. To avoid these pitfalls, Dr. Kiewra creates a study method he calls SOAR: select, organize, associate, regulate. After taking complete notes, the writer selects important information. This can mean taking lots of notes on a keyboard and then editing them down, or highlighting points in the written notes. Either way, start with more notes is better, because people tend to be overly selective, leaving out important learning tools such as examples, he says. The next step to organize these notes is in order to easily grab critical details and see bigger themes. The brain is hungry to categorize information, he says. These organized notes often look more like a matrix with topics across the top, categories along the side, and details and examples in the cells, he says. Then comes associating, in which you look over the notes and try to make connections to your own experience or create a memory trick to sear salient points into your brain. The final step is to regulate. Go over these organized notes and see if they make sense and lead to deeper understanding. This SOAR method, he says, can help whether you're taking history class or processing what just happened in a major meeting. Even if you record an interview or a lecture, transcribing word for word isn't enough to result in deep processing, Dr. Kiewra says. Though studies have shown that the act of taking notes, whether by typing or longhand, helps with memory retention, they should be thought of as only a raw ingredient that it can help reach a deeper understanding of the material later on, he says. If you don't do anything with the notes you took in the moment, they're basically useless. Now, I happen to think this is actually very, very true. When I remember back to my college days that weren't that long ago, frankly. Taking notes and trying to... At first, I started with typing notes. That was my initial way when I was a freshman, sophomore. And that was mostly because I thought my computer was the coolest thing ever. But very quickly, I realized that I actually don't do well with computer notes. I easily get distracted, and the wealth of the internet information really can overwhelm and kind of pull me away from what's happening in front of me. So what I ended up doing eventually was switching to just pen and paper. And I agree with Dr. Kiewra that I think the fact that you have to kind of force yourself to learn a shorthand, or like he said, you kind of circle things that are important, I think that helps. More importantly than all of this, though, as he mentioned, more important is the ability to be able to kind of regulate yourself and understand what you need. When I was originally starting with the design that was a gift, I thought through kind of how would it be used. I thought through kind of what he needed when it was for Dr. Sem, for those of you who've listened to the origin of the Murdy #1 podcast. There's a lot of unique parts of life. Just everyone's lives are different, and because of the differences in the lives we lead, it's hard to sometimes know what the best thing is for someone else. It's hard to know what someone else needs for the note-taking. So when we were working on our design, one of the core principles was, when I was working on the design, the core principle was the ability to create your own template. If you are the kind of person who has a very unique situation, if you're the kind of person who has discovered through experimentation in many cases a specific type of style of note-taking that you do really well, a certain template, a type of mnemonic system, or whatever the best kind of way you take notes, we wanted you to be able to create your own template, create your own form, print it out, 3-hole punch it, and put it in our binders. I think that is the best way for you to develop your own organization system, because everybody's lives are different, and frankly, our lives change in the spur of the moment. Things can be very different very quickly. So being able to have that very specific, this is how we're going to do it, this is how I'm going to do it strategically so that I can have the best thing, I think those are very technical tools that you can use to improve your life and organize your life, which is always a very difficult topic in the busy world we live in. And this is a broader thing too. If you are a company that uses forms, or what's another good example? Let's say you're like a football coach, for example, and you've got a specific style of the sheet that you use to draw out strategies or to show off plays or things like that. You know, you can have these things. You can draw them out with pen and paper, and then you can easily remove the pages by unscrewing the screws, and you can scan them onto the computer. So having that kind of that duality allows for you to be able to build your own tool, to build your own book, to take your own notes in your own style, and then to digitize them for later if you like to use them. And I think there are really good optical character recognition. It's called OCR technology. You can go Google it if you're interested in learning more, but there's really good OCR technology out there now that can actually interpret your handwriting on a scanned image if you write well enough. That's always a caveat, but if you write well enough, it's usually able to actually do a pretty good job transcribing your notes from the handwritten version to a digital version that you could search. OneNote actually is one that I've used in the past. It's pretty good. I think Evernote's got something similar. So there's different ways of doing that, and I think having those systems in place are so vital to your mental health and sanity and organizing a very busy life in a busy world that we live in. All right, thanks so much for tuning in today, folks. Be sure to check back in tomorrow for our next topic. And don't forget to check that subscribe button to be sure to get the latest podcast right away. If you have any questions or concerns about your leather binder, please feel free to contact us on the main page of our website at murdycreative.co, or you can contact us via our Instagram and Facebook. You can text, email, call, direct message, all the usuals, and I'll do my best to be available whenever possible, but I do appreciate your patience. If you think I deserve it, a good review can go a long way to help and grow our new community. And if you have a podcast topic you want to hear more about, send them my way. I'm always happy to engage with our audience, and this was a suggestion from Dad. So if you're looking for multiple binders for gifts, giveaway, menus, really any reason, reach out and ask about our book discounts. We do have those available. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Goodbye.